Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of you here. Um, so happy that you're all here. Especially, this is just one of those times of year where no matter whether you're going through cancer or just life, our immune system can get affected. And that's for a couple of reasons. There's holiday stress, there's weather. Um, and so I just felt like it was a good idea to get together. For one thing, what I really, really want is at the end of this to get some communication going, get people chatting, because I want to say that one thing I do know is that any of your questions are probably in the minds of many others that are on the call or that will be watching this call later. So please, please, please feel free to ask questions. It might be easiest to wait until the end, but if it's like, oh, it's in my head right now and it's really relevant, don't worry, just unmute yourself and ask away. So with that said, mostly, like I said, I just kind of want to make sure that I want it to be this to be um, a realistic and simple way to support our immune systems because there's a happening in our lives on a daily basis. That I don't want this to become a stress. Like, oh my gosh, she's telling me I have to have black coffee and blueberries and move. And, this is not the intention at all. The intention is ways to support you in the ways that you might need along the way during, like I said, through the holidays, through the cold weather. Um, uh, as always, I touch on our four pillars. And as a reminder to all of you, our four pillars are mindset, community, fitness, and nutrition. So you'll see that we kind of work through all of those with the ways that they are connected with our immune system and having a strong immune foundation. So starting with lifestyle. Um, you know, that's kind of the overview of it. Uh, there's so much to do with what happens in our daily life that impacts our entire bodies. And I just feel like it's a really important thing to be thinking about the things that we're doing in our daily routine. Routines are just so important um, to just finding that calm. Like I know what to expect. I know what I'm going to do, and good routines, like establishing a positive routine. One thing that I remember at one point, my son, who had always found me annoying, to tell him to, eat your vegetables, eat your fruit, do your exercise. And he really became, that became part of his lifestyle because it was his base. But I remember asking him, like, what is it that's getting you to be so good and so consistent? And he said, once I started doing it for a few weeks, it just became like breathing. It's what I do. And so, like, if we could have a routine like that that's really serving our bodies, it's so helpful. So just thinking about what is my routine going to be over the next, what would we say, 2, 3 weeks of the rest of the holidays? And also really kind of thinking in terms of this is a time when often routines get thrown out the window. And if you think about it, the holidays, the actual holidays, depending on what you celebrate, are just a few of the days of the month. So on the other days, we can still keep our routine. And it's a really common thing for people to do, especially in our country, to be like, oh my gosh, I've got parties and I've got all these things. So I'm going to, but next month I'll start, getting back on the saddle. I'll start eating better again. I'll start exercising again. So if we can try to stay in our routine of healthy exercise and nutrition and community, you'll be getting most likely, hopefully. And then just that mindset work, if we can keep doing that and keeping that in our routine, I think you're going to find that the holidays become a little less stressful. Um, I say it all the time. I say it to myself all the time. Hydration is just so critical, but I'm emphasizing it during this time because it's cold. So we think less about drinking water, but we still need the same amount of water as we do, during the summer months. It just is less appealing. And so when I say, it's important to get your hydration and get the right amount, to just a little cheat for that is it's half of our body weight in fluid ounces. So if I weigh 150 pounds, I'm trying to get 75 ounces of water in daily. A great way to do that is if you have, something that you drink from that's easily measured and you know that you need to fill it that many times. Um, Goes without saying, if we can limit, I know alcohol is a tough one during the holidays. Again, we're going to events and but trying to limit it a bit as much as we can. Avoiding smoking always, particularly with going people that are going through cancer, but really anyone. Um, and then spending time outdoors in the fresh air, even when it's cold, like bundle up, get your hat on. This is where we lose a lot of our heat here too. Get bundled up and breathe that fresh air because a lot of the reason that people get cold and flu is because we are indoors much more so. It has nothing to do with being cold. It has a lot to do with being, around people indoors much more so than we are during the really lovely weather. Um, and natural light, vitamin D. Those of you, I know many of you are in other parts of the country, and some of you are in other parts of the world. In Northern California, currently, it has been just locked in with fog. And you can see, I notice it with the clients that I work with. There's there's a the seasonal affect disorder is a real thing. There's just like a huh, when people come in and, I'm like trying to get them boosted up and excited, but it's a little harder to when we're not getting that natural light. So when the sun does shine through during these winter months, I would really suggest getting out there. It also is really helpful for sleep. I don't know if any of you know this, but if you can get like first thing in the morning for about 10 minutes, unfiltered sunlight, that tells your circadian rhythm that this is time for me to wake up. We'll go to sleep and talk about that a little bit more, but that's just another factor of why it's important to get natural sunlight. Supportive connections. You're here right now. That this is, yes, it's over Zoom. The goal of Cancer Champions is to put together a retreat where we can be together in person. But until then, having a Zoom every month is, I think, one way for us to connect and be able to talk to each other and even discover people that we may want to get to know better. Um, as we do more of these and hear the questions that people have and understand the cancers that they're going through or the cancers that loved ones are going through. Um, so moving right into sleep and immunity, which I already kind of touched on with the light. 7 to 9 hours is kind of that sweet spot that's become a known probably in the last decade or so. And there's some interesting research, and this, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily apply to those that are in treatment. But the 7 to 9 hours, they did do some research and discovered that beyond 9 hours, we could actually be doing our bodies a disservice. Caveat, you're in the middle of treatment or radiation, which makes us tired, going through chemotherapy, you get as much sleep as you need. So that kind of goes out the window for those that are in active treatment right now. But if you are before treatment or post in survivorship, trying to get that 7 to 9 hours, getting that minimum of seven is so important for our brain health, for our organs to reset. Another little side note, one thing that's really important for our organs to be able to get rest as well as our brain gets the rest when we shut down, right? We turn everything off. Our organs also need to reset, and that includes our digestive tract. So if you can avoid late night snacking, it's really, really beneficial to your system because what can happen, I only learned this after I was always one that would like just before bed, maybe a half an hour before bed, like grab a handful of almonds or an apple and think, oh, it's healthy, it's a good thing. I'm doing something good for my body. But then I discovered or learned through research that it's actually not the best thing to do because your body turns on, your organs turn on because they have to digest, right? So everything wakes up in our digestive tract and thinks, oh, I don't get to rest yet. I have work to do. So just keeping a little that in mind too, that it helps and it helps us sleep better to not have possibly the sugars that present a couple of hours after we go to bed. Like a glass of wine might feel really nice in the evening, but could wake you up because of all the sugars a couple hours later. So calming bedtime routine, which would also include, and I'm sure many of us have heard this, trying to turn off the blue lights, the screens, all of the things, particularly news, things like that that aren't necessarily calming, and just allowing that time to just settle in. One thing I really try hard to do is to end my night, and this is something I used to do with my kids when they were little, is I'd always require that they tell me one thing that made them happy today, or one good thing that happened today. And I just feel like it's a really nice way to end your day, to just have that be your last thought. Like I got to see like trees in bloom, or I got a phone call from a friend. I made a phone call to a friend that I care about. Whatever it is, have that be your last thought before you drift off to sleep. Um, I love warm weather. I love warmth. This one's a tough one for me, but I force myself to do it. It's really good to have a cool environment. You think warm, cuddly, like going to sleep in the warmth, but believe it or not, having a cool environment really helps to maintain your sleep. And then for those, again, those that are going through treatment and are just exhausted, there's nothing wrong with a nap. Um, Keeping it to like a true nap, meaning probably 30 minutes or less, depending on where you are in your journey. Because if your fatigue is high, your body is saying, I need a break. So honor that. Unless you are one that if you have a nap, it really affects your sleep at night. In that case, maybe make it for 10 minutes or less, or 5 minutes or less. So that cat nap idea where you get a chance to just do a quick little reset in the brain and then get back on track of this is the awake time. So moving on. So nutrition. Nutrition is probably one of the most, well, it's hard to say. They're all really, really important, but the nutrition aspects of immunity are really, really critical. And there's really the great thing is that it's not too difficult to boost our immune system through just eating foods. Of course, there's supplements. This particular call is not focusing on supplements. That could be another call because it's such a big topic. Um, and we just have to be super aware of depending on those that are going through chemo right now, knowing which supplements work and don't work. That's a call that I would have probably Damien do because she's got a more knowledge on the impact of supplement. So for the purpose of this call, I'm kind of sticking to just the food, getting our nutrition through the foods that we eat, which is my favorite way anyway, if we can. Um, just thinking in terms of like, having colorful fruits that are rich in antioxidants. So we're talking about blueberries and raspberries and things that are rich in color, including carrots, sweet potatoes. And I can at the end of this, depending if we have time, I'll list through the exact a list of the vegetables and fruits, a list of the proteins that are good, etc. And then I will also follow up with in our newsletter with an outline of the foods because there's so many, but I can definitely give you the best. Um, and the other thing is that like I talked about, this is kind of times that we're going to parties or we're getting busy with all of the things that surround the holidays. So it is really critical to stay consistent with with the meals that we're breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you're a 3 meal a day person, If you're not, if you're a two meal and some snacks, just try to keep that consistency of whatever works best for you and whatever it is that you're trying to do with your nutrition. We all have different goals with our nutrition. So just trying to stay consistent with that. All right. So, movement and physical activity. I already touched on this. But this is a time of year when people decide that they're just too busy. Um, and I will say this, prioritize it. Movement is critical. It's so important for our mindset, just because that we get endorphins when we move, and whatever that movement means for you and whatever your program is that we've set up for you. um just even if it's okay, let's just say you've got an incredibly busy day, you've got family coming in, all these things happening. Even if you set aside 10 or 15 minutes, I promise you, you are going to be better equipped to deal with the things that are going to be happening that day, the busyness of that day. And that can be as simple as walking, or like a nice stretch, like taking 10 minutes in a soft, quiet place that you can just be one with your body. Strength training is something that we're always, always going to talk about because, particularly going through cancer and the all of the treatment that goes along with it, we tend to lose muscle mass. So adding in strength training, um, more than really anything. When it comes to exercise, I would say strength training. If you have to prioritize one thing, that would be what I would prioritize: building the muscles that support our joints. um, Balance, that's always an important one. Particularly, chemo brain is a real thing. So working your balance, that is part of strength training. You can do it with a weight or not. We have a lot of balance videos on the site. So if you are wanting to focus on balance, you certainly can find some videos that will support you in that. Um, all of that said, we also don't want to push too far um, because of the everything that's going on. Our immune systems do tend to be slightly compromised, if not already compromised due to treatment. And so you want to listen to your body. So if you're starting to go, oof, I'm just breathing a lot heavier than I normally do when I'm doing the same things that I normally do, be aware of that and then give yourself some breaks. So there's a balancing act, right? Like, let's not let it go completely, but let's also be aware that if our immune system does seem a bit compromised or seems a little tired, to honor that and listen to your body and back it off a little, and maybe move to a nice stretch instead. So if you're starting to feel a little like, I think I'm exerting myself more than I should, back it down, give yourself some mobility work, some stretches, and then you can get back to it later. There is, fact, it's just research driven that movement boosts our circulation, right? So we get our blood flowing and good healthy blood cells moving through our body, and that includes our immune cells. So that activity helps fend off illness, along with all of the other benefits. It really does actually help us not get sick as easily. And then, just you can use the holidays as a way to also continue to stay active. People might be coming over, so you're going around and dusting and vacuuming and doing things super fun like that. Or you're asking the person that's visiting to, let's go for a walk. Let me show you the neighborhood, or it's that walking is a great way to have a conversation with somebody, particularly if it's like a conversation that's a little deeper, because it feels a little bit less like let's talk, in the right face to face, which can be sometimes a bit much for people. A nice walk is a great way to have a serious conversation because people feel a little safer. They're moving, they can look around at the trees as they absorb what's being said. So that's just a little side note about, I find that when I want to have a really good conversation with one of the people that I love, I love to do it on a walk. Um, so stress management. Stress, this isn't on this slide, but it's something that I was thinking about. So longevity is a big topic. It's a huge topic, right? And so one of the things that they're discovering with longevity is stressing our body is really good. because when we stress our body, it's learning to how to adapt to that, which builds our longevity. That said, and one of the things that they're one of the big things with stressing ourselves, and people have heard about this, is like cold plunges, right? We go into the cold and they sit there and endure it for as long as we can, and then into the sauna. There's bathhouses popping up everywhere. They're great. But if you are trying to protect your immune system or you're going through treatment, you don't need to be stressing your body in any way. It is getting stressed enough through everything. So the reason I bring that up is because during weather like this, say we go out for a brisk walk and it's all cold and we've got to come in and our face is freezing and everything's cold, and then we get right into the heat. That actually stresses our system. So what I would suggest is if you're going from the warmth of your home, really make sure that you're not getting out and getting smacked in the face with alert. I heard, I think it was Craig saying that we've got the snow coming. So that's going to be even more critical for immune system to, like I said, get the hat on, get bundled. So you're not going straight from one temperature to another, because that is a big stress. I know that that isn't part of the that this slide, but it was a thought that I had that I think is really important for us to know. Um, Breath work has really become, it's been around, right, for mostly in other societies forever, like to just breathe. And we're really starting to learn how important breath work is. And so just when that stress starts to happen, to do like the box breathing or just breathe in for three, out for three, and just allow, it's amazing how calming it can be. I remember one of my first big presentations, the person before me was presenting on breath work. And I was sitting in the audience and my heart is thumping and I'm like, oh God, I'm next, I'm next, I'm next. And kind of paying attention to her, but mostly in my head about what I'm going to say. And at the end of it, she said, I'm going to walk you through a breathing exercise. And she had us all close our eyes. And then she said, see yourself in your favorite place. And then I want you to really see it, smell it, feel it, all of those things. See yourself. And then breathe as though you're there and you just want to soak in every second of it. And I will tell you, all of my stress and worry, it went away. It was amazing. And I've used it ever since. Like people probably at a table with me are probably like, why is she sleeping? But I'm sitting over there with my eyes closed and doing that whole breath work thing. It's pretty phenomenal what we can do for our bodies to regulate. Um, Also set boundaries. It is okay to say no. I think I was in my 30s when I figured that out, maybe 40s. I'm a slow learner. I remember when my mom was just at one point said, "Hun, you got to learn the word no." And it doesn't have to, it doesn't require an explanation. You don't have to, and it can be as polite as can be. No, thank you. And leave it at that. It is okay to say no, especially, when you have so much happening in your life, doctor's appointments and everything that everyone is going through again, or whether it's you or somebody that you love, it is okay to say no. And it's also okay to say, I'm going to block off 30 minutes to sit and read, or to light a candle, or to sit in a bath, or do whatever it is that is your version of rest and restoring. Allow that for yourself. We do tend to not allow that. We tend to think, well, I should be busy. I should be doing something. I should be productive. I should. It is critical, particularly when you want to keep your immune system strong. It is critical to allow yourself that. There's nothing wrong with it. And also, you could show the people around you. Like, I know I learn from people. Like, I've got a sister that's very good about that. And I think, okay, I'm going to just step away for a while and have some time. And it really does help. Um, Surround yourself. with people that are positive. It makes a difference. Those that are, I mean, if you can help it, because sometimes they're just part of our lives and we just have to breathe through them. But if you can avoid the negative, the people that just are like, oh God, this weather, right? Can you believe this? And oh my gosh, I was trying to drive through the parking lot and everyone's cutting me off. And, just that feeds us as much as God, can you believe like it's so interesting this fog, but it's got this moisture in the air and the plants are probably thriving from it. And it's so fun to be out in you see all the people driving and walking and there's the hustle and bustle and it's just enjoyable to see it. There's just such a difference from being around when we surround ourselves with that positive and upbeat. And it doesn't have to be, we don't have to always be, everything is great because that's just not reality. But being around the people that can find the goodness in most things is going to impact you. It will impact your mood, it'll impact the way that you look at life. And so just really stay connected with those people that are there and want to support and allow, especially when you're going through a difficult time, let people support you. That's another thing. We tend to do the push away. I'm fine. I'm good. Um, if somebody's asking if there's something they can do, it's because they really want to. And sure, yes, there's that whole thought, well, they shouldn't have to ask me. They should just figure it out. But we can't always figure out what people want. We just know that we want to do something. So to say, actually, it would be lovely is if you would take a walk with me, or I'm really tired these days. If you don't mind, if you wouldn't mind bringing dinner over, that would be amazing. And you're giving that person as much of a gift as they are giving you because so often people don't know what they can do for somebody that's having a hard time. And so to say to them, that would really be nice, it fills them as much as it fills you. Um, and then, one other, I think, really important thing to think about is journaling, whether it's a gratitude journal or just a simple notebook with some lines in there. And really, if you can, as much as you can, put what is happening. It's okay to say, I'm scared, I'm mad, I'm feeling these things, and get them from here and out onto paper. That's super helpful for those that are having hard time sleeping. If you keep that journal next to you and you're having those thoughts in your head and you get that piece of paper and put it there, often that allows you to remove it. You've acknowledged it and move on to getting to sleep. Um, and then, like I mentioned, kind of going to bed and thinking about like the best thing that happened in your day or one good thing that happened in your day, one thing that you're grateful for. Starting your day that way too. When we start our day with something positive, we are setting ourselves up for a good day. If we start our day with, I'm looking so forward to Jen's call about immunity, but if it, whatever it is, I'm really looking forward to my cup of coffee in the morning. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm just so excited about my cup of coffee. But whatever it is that you're looking forward to or you're grateful for that day, like I get to be here today. I get to breathe fresh air and I think that there's again a lot of research on the importance of practicing gratitude or journaling or both. So something to think about. Um, and just finally, and I mean, I'm hoping that people will have questions and specific things that I can be answering for you, but just a little like kind of back key takeaway. Um, just those small daily habits, like all of the tidbits that I've thrown out at you, maybe two or three really resonated. And so kind of keep those and that let those be your just your daily habit. Um, and the more you can be consistent, the better, because once you're consistent, it just becomes part of what you do, and it's just a muscle. You grow. We don't need to worry about perfection. If you set out to do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, and you don't do that, that's okay. Be happy with whatever you were able to achieve, and then tomorrow is a new day. And then again, going back to wherever you are right now, honor it, allow it. If it's not a day, if it's a day where you're just like, I don't think I can do any of the things that we talked about on this call, that's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. And allow yourself to just say, this is a recovery day for me. Today, I'm just going to relax. I'm going to sit back. I'm not going to worry about anything else besides letting my body recover. And most importantly, just reach out for support when you need it. All of you have coach mentors. Um, I can tell you, we have a couple of our coach mentors on this call. I can speak for them in saying the reason that they do what they do is because they want more than anything to be there for you to support you in whatever way you need. So please remember that they are there for you and reach out to them. You can reach out to me, of course. I'm always here for you. Um, and that concludes the presentation part of all of this. But I would love to hear any questions you might have. Just feel free to unmute yourself. If I know the answer, I will give it to you right away. If I don't, I will find it. Anybody have anything out there? Wow. All right. Well, I would, if something does come up for you. Oh, Craig, you're trying to, I can unmute you. I think I can unmute you. Let me see.
We go.
Here we
No,
go.
okay. Well, I just want to say, following you for the last couple of years, it's been really great, and I've gotten through a lot of things, absolutely, on a high note in most cases, and it took me through the first session where I had a procedure for my prostate, and it was a 1 day procedure. Went from 16.5 PSA down to zero point 0.3 in 1 day. Um, and they missed, unfortunately, a little bit, and it came back about a year later. But I bought a year, and I kind of knew that it could happen because of the way previous things had happened. But the radiation that I had recently, I was getting through it every week very comfortably. Tired by the end of the week after 5 days of radiation, ready for it for the next week by Sunday. And that was important to me because there were many other men in my case that were in the waiting room or waiting for the linear accelerator, et cetera, that would come to me and say, are you vomiting like I am? Are you having diarrhea like I am? I go, no, no, no. Well, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I would tell them essentially most of the things that you said. And of course, I've researched a bunch of that too. So it really it's come together very well. And I want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. And I'm so happy to hear and see you and to hear how well you're doing, Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, doing great. And my numbers are back down to 1.1 now, so I'm back down out of it.
Amazing. Amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank
That's
you.
big. That's big. Does anybody else have any? Oh, Becky, let me get you. I think I can get you that way.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm new to the group. Hi, how are you? I'm new to the group and I'm one of those negative people you're talking about. And I really try not to be negative and let life get me down. But how how do you fight that? It's always been in my genes. I think
Mm.
to be negative. And to be depressed and to sound even when I say something and I mean it positive, people go, "Oh, I'm so sorry." No. It's a good thing. How do I overcome that?
That honestly, Becky, that's such a good question because I know people that you meet their parents and you're like, and I'm not blaming your parents by when I say this, but you meet their parents or the people that they've been surrounded by, and you hear that negativity there, and you kind of go, oh. So this is what this is a learned like this is the way they think. And it's work. It's work. It is work for really for anyone, even the most positive, to flip
Yeah.
things. And so what I would say, Becky, is that when you're feeling that negative thought, um, figure out what would be the opposite of that feeling of just like it's such a gloomy day. And I keep using that as an example because I really do not love the gloomy, dark days. But like to change that to, oh my gosh, the crisp fall weather. But I get to experience this different um, temperature change or trying to, and even if you don't necessarily fully believe it, if we say it enough, it does impact, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah, does anyone like to sit in traffic? Absolutely not. But if we can just say, you know what, if there was an accident, I just really hope that they're okay and I'm really happy that I'm okay. Or if I'm just going to take this time and I'm just going to breathe, it's quiet. I don't have anyone asking me to do anything, and I'm just going to allow myself to be like these are the little tricks that we can play on our brain because our brain can be
I
tricked
lost you.
into switching from that kind of negative mindset into the more positive
Uh-huh.
mindset.
Probably because I'm moving around
Can I
too
share
much.
something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Becky,
Okay.
if I may,
Okay.
I used to be very
Yeah.
much like you
Ah.
years ago, and I learned about what they call self-talk, and self-talk comes from what you tell yourself, and you don't really realize it. And much of that does come from when we were young, when we sat out and the parents were talking to other friends or whatever, and they say, "Well, Susie, she's like so and so, and Becky, she's like that, and she does this," and you start absorbing that, and you believe it. Your mind believes it. May not be true, but your mind believes it, as Jen said. And so I switch it around and I watch what I say. You kind of led into that when you were describing what your problem was. About how you feel you're negative. Oh, well, I know I'm negative, and it just sort of, and that's the way I am. Well, you just turn it around, as Jen said, and you're no longer negative because the more you tell your brain, if you look what's going on with politics these days, and I won't get into that, but a lot of it is repetition, 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 repetition. And the more you listen and believe that repetitive line, whatever it may be, then the more you absorb it. And the mind is all kind of connected to the gut through the vagus nerve. Everybody thinks the mind is up here. It's really down in the microbiome. That's another subject. But when your microbiome isn't settled, then this isn't settled. If you can get the two together, and do it through self-talk, it really helps when you change that self-talk to positive and start saying the positive things about yourself and not even giving recognition to the negative side. It's
Absolutely.
my own 2 cents. I'm sorry.
No, agree. And I just want to say this, Becky. Um, I know you. And I would not think that. I mean that from my heart. I find you to be lovely, and I've gotten to meet you in person, and so maybe give yourself some grace and know that you are really a beautiful, lovely person. And I would never have said she's kind of negative, just so you know, and I mean that. I don't. Oh, it sounds like you're signing off. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I hope this was helpful. Again, I will send some follow up that like of specifics for Muni food. I can send this deck to anybody that wants it. We will have the video available too if you want, like if you have anyone you want to share it with. And again, please don't hesitate to, if you have some questions on anything I've said and you just think of it later, just reach out. Hello@cancerchampions.com and I will get right back to you. Thank you,
Love to see the
Jen.
deck.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jen.
the deck would be great. Thank you.
Okay, yep, I'll send it out for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay. Happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Happy holidays to all of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, be well.